All right, guys, we just worked so flat out last night that I sort of forgot to sign back off or tell you where we got up to last night. But yeah, as you can see, blower and manifold are all on properly, bolted down. I've got our throttle body on, our fly-by-wire one. Started getting our loom in. I've mostly terminated the engine loom. There's just a few things that I want to be able to do from underneath, and a few final little things I've got to terminate, but that's all happy days. One issue we did have was that I only have plugs for Gen 3 map sensor, and the Gen 4 map sensor, like this one, is actually a different plug. So given where it is, it's real hard to terminate it now, and I didn't want to leave the loom out and wait for a plug. So I'm hoping I can order just a spline, like a patch loom. Obviously that's pretty common for people to go from Gen 3 to 4 map sensors, so patch looms do exist. Hoping to just get a patch loom and just be able to chuck that in at the back there, and that's hopefully going to be the plan. Otherwise, we can go back to plan A, which I did have originally, was to use an aftermarket map sensor, which I've got here from Link. That was my original plan, which is why I didn't particularly have a map sensor plug ready to go, but the blower manifold already had a map sensor port in it. We put a 2.7 bar map sensor in there, which should be plenty for what we need to do. But yeah, didn't realize until I went to actually put the loom in that the plugs were different. So anyway, we'll have to try and sort that out. Hopefully we can sort that out ASAP. But as you can see, guards on, wiring's in, all connected up in the firewall where all my connections are. That's all finished. Happy days. Our firewall connectors are on for the engine loom, quick connect looms. That's all happy days. We've terminated the lights and stuff for the front car loom, and so Bo was able to get the reservoir tank here in, and we're starting to sort of button that up. So now that that's all laid in and we've got all that here, I'm just starting to terminate for all our sensors in the front here, and then that'll have this front end loom finished. So, you know, it's all starting to really come together. We are starting to get to a really short list of things to do, much shorter than was originally there. So we're still waiting for U-bolts for the tail shaft. We didn't have any good U-bolts for the tail shaft couplings. We didn't realize that they didn't have any with the tail shaft, so they're on order, so hopefully they're here in time. So there's a few little things like that. Again, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of parts to put all this together. It's inevitable that you're going to miss something, or something's going to happen, and that is the case. It's you can try your best to think ahead as much as you can, but there's usually always something that you miss. And for us at the moment, it's U-bolts for the tail shaft coupling, and then that map sensor plug is our two big things at the moment. But anyway, righto guys, a pretty productive afternoon really, considering the morning was not so productive. But all of our front end loom is all terminated, plugged into sensors, everything else, fan wiring, sub loom, everything. Got sensors all in, happy days. Terminated more of the engine harness. I did start installing the coils. Anyway, I've just left them loose for now. As far as just getting pipes in and out and potentially running wiring there, not sure yet. But yeah, most of this is all terminated, so all that's really left to terminate is the stuff I need to do underneath. As you can see, our reservoir's back in, etc. Water pumps are mounted. So it's all coming along. We're just looking up some specs and stuff between what we've got here, the CWA 400 intercooler pump, and our Davies Craig pump. What's going to be, if we do have issues with cooling, you know, this is a very popular pump for people, even people who run rear mount radiators and stuff like that. It is a very popular pump for drifters and stuff to use. So perhaps we're overthinking it. I'm not sure. I don't know. Well, it remains to be seen how it's going to work, but looking up the flow rates between this and this pump, our plan basically is if we think we're going to need more pump, to just straight up replace this with one of these and run another one of these. And I've thought about it. These draw a lot more amperage than those do. That is able to be powered directly from a HCO from the Haltech, whereas this is actually just triggered from the Haltech, and actually that's what this 16mm squared cable is run for from the back. So these draw nearly 40 amps, which is why I've run a 60mm squared cable all the way from the back. And yeah, the Haltech just triggers it, where the Davies Craig one, they actually don't draw much amperage at all. Anyway, I've thought about it. If it comes to it, swap one of them out for one of them, get another one of these. Should be able to get the same fittings to work, and it should just about go straight in, except for the fact that I believe there may be an orientation. So there may be some differences and changes we have to make, but that's okay, we can do that. And then if it's required, what I'll do is I'll jump from the starter post and run another 16mm squared off the starter post to run the second water pump, and we can put a MIDI fuse in that line somewhere, and in the tune what we can do is just stage it so that the pump doesn't run when you need to start it. Essentially, you can stage it or delay the pump startup for 10 seconds after the engine starts. That way you never getting the amperage draw on the pump at the same time as you're trying to crank it, and that way you're never going to overload that. It's going to be fine. So that's my idea of how we're going to get around if we need another pump in future or need to upgrade this in future. But again, like I said, it's a very popular pump for even drifters and stuff that run rear mount rads, so I'm probably, hopefully, just overthinking it, and hopefully we're going to be okay and it's going to be fine. So anyway, I'm trying to organise someone to come out who can gas up R134A, hoping to maybe get that done on Wednesday. So if we can get it running either Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning, have someone here to gas that up, that would be really awesome. But that's that. It's, yeah, Friday afternoon, it's late, it's cold, not working tonight, so I'm gonna get ready and go home. But it has been a productive couple of days, couple of nights. We are really getting to the pointy end, and it's very exciting for us, and I'm keen to see this thing running. So yeah, you can see sensors terminated, sensor terminated. Got another, that's ready for our pressure sensor, which will tee off our steam port for coolant pressure. Which is awesome. That's terminated, sensors in there. Terminated, sensors in there. Terminated, sensors in there. That's terminated for the AC solenoid. I ended up putting a plug on it to suit the solenoid. That way, if anything happens to the solenoid, it can just be replaced and it doesn't have to be re-terminated, because I was going to put like a Deutsch plug on it instead. But that means if you ever got to replace the solenoid or something, you have to re-terminate, which is probably not a big deal, but at least it's something that doesn't have to be done. Likewise with the fans, we've got the fan plugs that come on these Maradyne fans, and I did just terminate the fan subloom into those plugs. That's for the same thing. It means if you ever have to replace one of the fans, if you have a fan motor that dies or something, it's just a matter of simple swap it out, put another one in, you don't have to worry about re-terminating. Whereas if I put DTP2s on there instead, you'd have to re-terminate it every time you needed to replace a fan, which hopefully will be never. You know, it's one of those things you hope will never happen. But in the case of the event that it does, at least it's just a straight swap. Then there's a DTP4 up here for the fan subloom, which means there is only one plug to take the radiator out. If you have to pull the radiator, it's only one plug, but if you have to replace the fan, there's the two standard plugs that come with the fans down there. So yeah, that's how that works. We've got our lights all pinned in as well. They're all Deutsch plugged in. So yeah, it's all, front of the car's all wide. Just, yeah, finish off a bit of engine wiring. I've also terminated all the gearbox loom. It's all terminated as well, so it's ready to just go in. So gearbox loom, all ready to go for our sensors. So yeah, it's literally just a matter of lifting this up, finish terminating. It's pretty much just the knock sensor loom. The knock sensor plugs are the only ones I'm really waiting to lift the car up and do underneath the car, and the starter stuff and over that side. And that's just because I'm not sure yet, because there was so much going on in the front. I didn't know how long to make them, with where was going to be the best way to route the wiring down from the heads down to underneath to the crank to the knock sensors. So that's why I left them until the car goes up and we can have a good look underneath. And then yeah, there's just things like the brake switch and the handbrake switch and the ignition and the indicators to wire in to the R5, which, as you've seen, that's as simple as my little Deutsch plug under there for the R5, so that won't be a very big job. Touch wood, I probably shouldn't have said that. And then it's just a matter of tidying up back here our power distribution and finishing that off. So obviously at this stage I've been that busy doing everything else that I still haven't got to 3D print ducts for the AC. If he's that dead set on wanting the car and needing the car for this deadline, then it's just one of those things that is going to have to be a later thing. Obviously, if I get them right the first time, we may get them done. But that being said, you know, if we're going to get this thing running, I'm not going to hold up getting the dash in the car just for the sake of getting those ducts finished. So as much as it would have been really nice to do them, I've just been flat out getting the wiring sorted, which is more important, and just prioritizing the wiring and obviously just getting the car running for this deadline. So that's where we're at with it, and if that has to happen later, it has to happen later. It is pickup week, basically. It's Monday. We've been told the car's getting picked up on Friday, so whatever gets done, whatever doesn't. We're hoping that it is at a stage where it's at least just running and driving. We're not too worried about flex or anything like that, just as long as it's driving on 98, because it's, you know, fresh gearbox, it's a fresh diff. Both of them realistically should get some time on them just under regular driving conditions before it really gets hammered on the dyno anyway. So if we can just sort of get it on the dyno and get it run in, do a bit of tuning while we do the run in, do our first oil change and checks, that'll be enough for now. He can take it, get some drive time on the diff and the gearbox and stuff, and it's a full fresh build. There's probably going to be teething issues. He's going to be unhappy about it, but that is just the reality of a fresh build that's from front to back fresh. It's very, very, very rare, no matter how much you try and how much you do, to get away with a completely fresh build like this with no teething issues at all. So it's pretty unrealistic that that's going to be the case. But anyway, it is what it is. We can only do what we can do with the time that we've got, and this is where we're at. So it doesn't look like nothing's been done, but realistically, today has actually been a pretty big day so far. Rex has been busy on other stuff. I've been busy on other stuff, but Bo's done quite a bit today. The panel that was on the firewall, we meant to pull that off and line it with foam and seal it up before it went back on before the engine went in. But in our haste and in our rush to try and get this thing done for this deadline, we're rushing to try and get all this finished. We forgot about that. So that had to get pulled off, and Bo had to do that while everything was in the car. So apologies to Bo for having to deal with that, but it's been pulled off, lined with foam and sealed up and back in. We've had to pull what was in the dash and the R5 and stuff back out so we could get this back out, which is the ducting for the demisters. So we're trying to duct this. Basically, we've got to try and make this work with this ducting that we've got. So I've had to sort of draw something up that I've got in the printer at the moment that's going to come out on this side, and so that we can duct our AC kit to this and use this as our demister for the AC kit. That's the plan. Unfortunately, with the time we've got, this thing's getting picked up on Friday. We realistically need it running Wednesday, hoping that we can get someone here to gas up the AC system for the interchiller on Wednesday. Because yeah, it probably wouldn't be too cool to run it. Anyway, it is what it is. So again, we can only do what we can do with the time we've got. So we're hoping that we can get someone here to gas up the AC system Wednesday, which means we sort of need the car running on Wednesday so that we can do what we've got to do and hopefully have it basically tuned, run in, oil changed, basically ready to go for Friday morning. That's about the timeline. So given that fact, we're going to need this dash back in tomorrow afternoon one way or another. So I've drawn this up in Fusion. I've got it in the printer. Of all of my rolls of filament, I just picked the one that had the most filament on it. I'm hoping it's enough filament to get it done. And I've got one shot at printing it. That's it. Hopefully it's right. That's what I've come up with. So that's the piece there. It appears it's going to clear the firewall and everything else. And basically that just ducts to our little square hole. And yeah, hopefully it's enough. Hopefully I've done enough here to make this happen. So it's in the printer at the moment. It's going to take quite a while. It's going to be tomorrow that it's going to be finished potentially. Again, I don't know for sure. Don't know if this is going to go. No time to real prototype, it just is. And yeah, basically if we come here tomorrow and there wasn't enough filament or there's a failure in the print at all, or if it finishes and it doesn't fit properly, doesn't work, well then it's going to be too bad because can't afford, the dash has got to go back in. So yeah, that's in the printer at the moment. It did say it was going to take a day and a bit. So hopefully tomorrow afternoon it's done and the dash can be going back in so that Wednesday we can be getting ready to hit that key. But yeah, it's going to be still a lot to do, big days. Rex is still going to be working nights. I'll be working nights from home, working on the invoice, as you can imagine. Between, all the fittings, plugs, sensors, bits of wire, lugs, everything that gets used, the invoicing is a huge process as far as listing all your parts and part numbers and pricing. It's a massive job just to invoice these things, which again is part of the job that no one actually pays for, which is still hours and hours that goes into it. So yet another reason that we're not continuing on down this path of doing these cars. But hey, what a cool final one, I suppose. There's still obviously a few that we're finishing off and doing, and there's going to be a few more that we're doing, but as far as one of the last ones, pretty cool one to have in the little bank. But anyway, so that's that. Anyway, the problem is that where this ducting actually goes, so what we're looking at would be from the firewall. So the firewall runs along here, up there, and that mounts up under the dash like that, the way it's sitting. So once this is in there, you can't really get at it. So that's what I mean when I say I've got one shot at this, because this has got to go back in the car so that the dash can go back in and the ECU and stuff can all go back in tomorrow one way or another, because it's how this is going to have to happen. So anyway, it is what it is. Like I said, we only build cars, we don't perform miracles. We can only do what we can with the time that we've got. Obviously, a build like this does take a long time. The reason is that there's a freaking lot of work in it, for one. And the second thing is that all of this work has to happen in a certain order. You can't put the cart before the horse. So, even though people will talk about the fact that you could take 8 months to build the car, we're still doing the same amount of hours. It's just we're trying to do it in 4 months instead of 8. So it is what it is. That's all we can do. Righto guys, we're back here. It's another day. It's yeehaw. This is how we're going on our print. So apparently we're 62% through at 22 hours. So looking like it's going to be pretty close to 40-hour print, so not going to be done even today. So I'm willing to still wait for it to get the dash back together, because the other few final fittings that we're waiting for may not be here today anyway. So, you know, if it's not going to be running today either way because of that setback, we may as well wait and see if this duct's going to work before we rush chucking it all back together, sort of thing, because it's not going to be, that's not going to be what's holding it up from getting it running at this stage. It's probably going to be the fact that we don't quite know where these freaking last few things are that we need to finish these last 3 lines in the car, which sucks. But for anyone that's been watching for a while and knows where we live is very rural, and we don't get any postal or delivery service here. The closest servo to us, we've always been really cool about letting us get all of our stuff delivered there, and then we just go and get it. However, that servo has recently been sold and changed hands, which means there is a big, obviously, staffing change. The staff there no longer really know the deal. They're still happy to get stuff delivered there for the most part, but there's been a lot of issues as far as the changeover goes with certain things. And from what we can see, those fittings were attempted to be delivered this morning and essentially were turned around or not accepted, which is just what we needed.
I don't think that's what's happening. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, we don't know what's going on, but either way, they're freaking not there. They're not here yet, so that sucks a lot. Just what we needed at the moment. But hey, it is what it is. Like I keep saying, we can only do what we can do. She is what it is. So anyway, here we are. We'll wait for that to print. If it means it goes back together tomorrow, it's not really going to matter if we don't have these fittings today anyway. So we may as well let it print out, considering we've already waited 22 hours. May as well wait the rest of the other 20 odd hours it's going to take to finish, and see if it works. But anyway, what can we do? Unfortunately, obviously, we need these few fittings to get the car running. Then we need the car running to gas the AC, and the AC needs to be gassed in order to run it up on the dyno, and we need to run it up on the dyno to even see whether this blower pulley setup is going to be adequate for what we want to do. So all of this happening before Friday, it's currently Tuesday, is probably getting to a point where it's very iffy, very iffy. Anyway, it is what it is. Again, can only do what we can do. It's going on Friday, it's going on Friday. Anyway, we're just sort of buttoning up a few things under the car, a bit of wiring and stuff under the car, last few things. Bo got the tail shaft in today, so Bo actually had to move the tail shaft loop down to give us more clearance from the uni, because where the tail shaft loop was hitting on the uni on the tail shaft. So that's that, the tail shaft's in. We have our actual strange couplers. So these, instead of having U-bolts, we got these. They are specifically to suit the strange yoke, the input shaft for the diff. So those have worked out great. Voted them this morning. So we've got tail shaft in. All the gearbox looms in now and terminated, and everything's done there. That's all happy days. So yeah, about the last thing to do under here. Still got to terminate the knock sensors, get the starter in, do our starter trigger and starter main cable, and then yeah, pipes and under the car is pretty well done. So that's that going on at the moment. Once that's done, we can start looking at just finalising what's inside the car, and hopefully we'll get some fittings here to finish this line. So I mean, it sucks because by the time it goes on Friday, the car will essentially be finished, as in like the work will be done. It's just a matter of I suppose the last few logistical dramas of getting it running so that we can get the AC gas, and having the AC gas so that we can do the run-in tune, and getting the run-in tune done so that we can allow some run-in time on the gearbox and diff and everything else. But like I said, there's too many things we have to make happen in a certain process in that time, that, you know, if these fittings are delayed until tomorrow, it's going to cook us. If we can't reschedule the AC gassing till the next day, that's going to cook us. And even if we did get the AC gas the next day, it still probably doesn't really leave enough time for us to properly get this thing set up and, you know, run in tuned and everything else. So I'm not really stressing about it anymore. It just is what it is. I just happened to walk in right as that last bit of filament's going. So I'm hoping that it running out of filament will be different to when the power goes off or there's a power interruption. Because when the power goes off or there's a power interruption, it has to reset once it powers up again back to 0. And we always find that there's one axis that's a little bit off. I'm hoping when it runs out of filament, it just stops. I can do a quick reload and the head doesn't move and doesn't forget its place. And hopefully after that, it can just continue to print. I'm hoping that's the case. Fingers crossed. Here goes nothing anyway. I'm about to hit pause. going to take too long to process because you're not going to be pushing any filament. No! Exactly what you're not supposed to do, printer. Anyway, all we can do is try. Alright, I've done the quick reload, and all we can do is hope that it's on axis properly and not gonna be cooked. Anyway, guess we will find out. So we're at 26 hours now and it's saying 75%. So obviously it's yeah, the percentage and time elapsed is not really matching up. So hopefully it's not quite as long as I had originally anticipated. It's now these fittings that we'd been chasing all day finally have just arrived. It's now 4:15. So obviously we're still missing, we're still not going to have, obviously today's completely out of the question, but seeing as we have these means we can pretty much get this thing finished off now. So Rex will work tonight, I'll probably work tonight as well, which means I'll probably be in trouble because I had said that I wouldn't work any more nights, but I just want to, now that we've got the stuff we need, I'd just like to get as much done tonight as possible, so that in the morning, hopefully it's a matter of getting that duct in that freaking vent, getting that in the car, doing a bit of ducting, getting the dash and everything back in, fluids, and yeah, going for it. That'd be really nice. So that's the plan. That's my plan anyway, so we'll see. So yeah, probably work tonight just to try and get us that bit extra now that we've got what we need to get it finished off. So yeah, what we're waiting on is that oil line that Rex is doing now. We just wanted to change the pump end of it just a little bit. Obviously we'd ordered fittings of what we thought, but because of where the pump ended up and how everything ended up, the fitting we had was just not quite right. We were going to get a better angle with a different fitting. So we wanted to get that perfect. So that was the one we're waiting on. We're waiting on a fitting to complete our water line from this tee to the other side of the block. So obviously we've got the little one there to this side, but we need that one for the other side. And then also the last few fittings we needed to get from our breather Y piece over to the catch can, to the tank. So with those couple of things here, we can finish off those few lines and happy days. All right guys, so we've got our main charge wire from the alternator back to the starter post. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough post for us to actually get two lugs on the same post. So our solution was this double lug, this double hole lug. Really good solution. I'm glad we have these. So this way the main starter wire goes straight to this lug, and the second hole we can use on the post. That way we don't have to try and cut half a nut down and screw around, and this heat sleeving will go back over that bolt and keep it protected. So that was a nice little save. Save us having to do a lot of bloody piss farting around. But it's our converter, pressure and temp. Then we've got gearbox pressure, gear detection from Haltech. The custom bracket that Bo made to fit that. We've got our speed sensor from Ultimate Conversion Wiring to convert Turbo 400 speed output to a square wave signal for the ECU. That's pretty much the gearbox loom in its entirety, and obviously our trans brake trigger up here if I'd point the camera the right way. But yeah, so moving along. Anyway, I'll slide this over and get this buttoned up, and then pretty much start looking at getting pipes in. Rightio guys, knock sensors on, terminated, all done, torqued up, happy days. That's literally the wiring under the car. Finito. Oh, I just got to make a main engine earth, which I'll do now, but that'll be it for under the car for now. Because when we work nights, obviously we're a little bit slower to get going in the mornings because we work till the wee hours of the mornings. We don't get much sleep, so I've got to leave the exhaust off. Like the starter's in, basically everything's done. The last sensor I need to put in the engine is the temp sensor that goes in the back of this head, but I'm going to leave that until after the exhaust goes on because I don't want it to get damaged while the exhaust is going on and off. So I'll leave that, but that is the last sensor that has to go in, and then we're just waiting on this patch loom from Haltech for the map sensor to get that working, and then obviously the O2 sensors that go on the pipes. But yeah, because we're a bit slower to get going in the mornings after work and nights, I've got to leave the exhaust for Bo to do in the morning because that's something he can sort of crack on with without any direction. Doesn't need any help really. Got the tools and know how to do that by himself when he gets here in the morning while we get moving. So yeah, I'm just going to keep on going with wiring and try and get as much wiring done as I can in this time. While I'm doing this, Rex is actually over here starting to get our base maps ordered for the Nexus. So he's starting to load all of the sensor calibrations, all of the sensors, everything we want to get loaded up in the Nexus, so that hopefully tomorrow, by the time we're ready to power this thing up, we're pretty right to just start going. It's probably enough time elapsed on this print now that we have the moment of truth, whether the reload has worked. And it's looking pretty damn good. Doesn't look like there's any obvious join or anything like that. It's looking like it's worked out fine, so that's awesome. We'll go up to 28 hours, 82%, so yeah. Like I said, that'll probably be finished in the morning, but at least there's enough filament left on that roll that I reloaded in that it's gonna be fine to complete its print. So when we get back here in the morning, it should be good. Oh yeah, it's actually just starting to do the first parts of the roof now. So yeah, there should be enough of a lean, and I should have put enough supports in that it should be able to bridge that and the roof of it. It doesn't matter if the inside of it's not perfect, it's only a duct, so that's fine. So yeah, it's all happening. So you can see there, that's our cherry sensor for our front wheel speed, and that's going to allow us to do our traction control, but just between speed, front and rear. I think I've already said this in this series at some point, but we did talk originally about setting up some laser level sensors and that sort of thing to get some real good data and have it, you know, really be able to tune it to hook up. But it was pretty much decided at some point, you know, the line had to be drawn somewhere, and he decided that he was never going to really use it that in depth. You know, just with those two sensors, we can set up, with the fly-by wire, we can set up a good enough sort of traction control strategy to use for any sort of drag and drive event or anything he's ever going to really want to do. But I mean, he really just wants to do skids in it. That's pretty much it. But, so that's going to pick up our front wheel speed. Yeah, and then we've got obviously our gearbox wheel speed. I meant to say before as well, we made this out of red first. Well, we tried red first, but I just hated the look of a dog's dick red cable running through the middle of all the engine bay and everything, so I decided to make it in black instead and just use red heat shrinks for each end, so hopefully that gives whoever's working on it enough of an idea. Anyway, it is what it is. So you can see some heat protection there in our trans lines for where they go. You can see all of the little welded on tabs for our Raceworks line separators. Oh sorry, those are power steering lines, not trans. But yeah, so here's a good look sort of underneath it. What's going on as far as power steering. I know I probably would have showed you these in an early episode when we did a lot of this up the back here, but power steering cooler. But yeah, you wouldn't have seen them since they've been completed. So lines run all up with good line separators that are mounted, along with the brake line that's now been installed. And yeah, that's where they terminate to braid. And they're all welded on, and then we've got on the other side welded on the same sort of brackets for the trans lines. So that is the trans lines that come from there. Yeah, good look at all of our oil lines and everything. Converters in, bolts are done up. Same on this side, we've got fuel lines. AN10 feed, AN8 return. Run up to our reg. That wiring here and down there is just for the O2 sensor, that'll get tucked up. But yeah, just a good look around at everything. Yeehaw. Anyway, just about to make the main engine earth, which I will do probably from the AC pad on the block, one of them M10 bolts. And I'm thinking of just going back to a bolt head on the sway bar link on the tube front. Should be good enough to do a decent engine earth. Yeah. Happy days. Intercooler pumps all wired in and everything. So, all good. It's another thing Bo can probably go on with tomorrow if we're still not here, is he can start actually tightening up everything in this front end, I guess, because, well, I guess we'll see, I suppose. You can see all of the boots. This thing's never even seen the road, but I don't think they greased anything when it was put on, and the rubber's perished already. So it's already gonna need all new boots. See that boot? All split. Top boots all split. Rack end, tie rod ends all split. So I'm sure he's gonna love that when he gets to the back, but that has nothing to do with us. So it is what it is. And then over here we've got all our line separators on all of our oil lines, as you can see, and then coming down the bottom of the tank, and then the ones that were welded on the chassis there to anchor all them as well. I'm not sure if this has been shown yet since as well, but all of the insulation and the coil and everything for the interchiller's all been done. That's all sorted. So that's sort of more or less the finished product. Obviously the nose cone's got to go on, and the bumper and that, but as far as all of our lines, sensors, wiring, that is pretty much everything. It's all in here. So there's a lot going on. A lot going on. All right, guys, there you have the main earth. Big 50mm square. Obviously, I know you don't need to heat shrink earth, things like that. I literally just heat shrink to hide the really ugly lugs. And that's going to come back to one of these bolts on the sway bar, but I've got to sand that down. So obviously I've sanded the block down. I even put some conductor paste on it. So should be well and truly plenty of earth. Not to mention this thing, the way the engine mounts are, it should earth a lot through just the engine mounts because they're not actually like rubber insulated. There is a rubber bush there, but the engine mounts are clamped on each other for the most part. So most of the earth should travel through that as well. Obviously they're all powder coated, but surely just between the bolt heads and other little surfaces, there would be quite a bit of earth going on through there anyway. But anyway, plenty of earthing going on, basically. How's the poor old heat gun after this job? Bit sad. It's done pretty good, really, considering just how much work it's done in the last sort of 6 weeks. Done a freaking lot of work, but yeah, it's all starting to melt and get real sad. Anyway, only a couple of sublooms left to go, and then I think we're pretty much done with heat shrinking. So just hold out for a bit longer there. Woo! 10% left on 30 hours. Anyway, I am balls deep in making injector and coil sublooms, getting them sorted. And in probably the most unsurprising twist of events, the fittings that have arrived to do the breathers for the coil covers, they don't fit. There's not enough room, they don't fit, they have to be modified. Like everything else on this freaking car, gonna have to modify the fittings and the covers to hope we get enough to make it work so that you can get them on and off out while they're in the car. If I could learn to talk, that'd be great.
It's not that, it's even just the old fittings just don't fit the covers.
They just don't have enough clearance. But yeah, so.
Because of that rail that's normally there.
Yep.
That hits that. And
yeah, roger.
That flat side hits there as well.
The
so modify the cover to get out of there, to be really careful not to go too far.
Through to the O-ring.
Through to the O-ring, and then I have to try and trim that down so that it'll just fit.
Like everything else, we're just fighting for millimeters. Fighting for millimeters. Anyway, just adds so much time to everything. But that's building cars. That's the inherent problems that arise with custom aftermarket cars and builds. It just is what it is. All right. 4 sublooms, 2 injector sublooms, 2 coil sublooms made, just have to be obviously terminated. Goodness, this is taking a lot longer than I anticipated. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't anticipate things to take longer, but here we are. That's been the last 3 hours just to get to there, which was not what I had anticipated, but hey, it is what it is. It's all taking a lot longer than I anticipated, to be honest, but it's just how long it friggin' takes, I guess. Look at this poor old heat gun. It is getting so sad. Anyway, just doing a clean up so Bo can sort what he's got to sort out in the morning. I'm sort of at a point now where I'm too cold to continue to work. I'm getting too cold and too stiff to move around. It is freaking freezing cold. So, packing up. I'll check on this print. We'll see how it's going. And yeah, then we'll try again tomorrow. So where we're at the moment, because we're still waiting on this map sensor patch loom, which will hopefully be tomorrow. Then we can do the map sensor. After that, we can sort out injector rails and injector lines and things like that at the back here, as well as after we do the other breather line. But if we do the other breather line now, it's going to make it pretty much impossible to do the map sensor. And then, inherently same thing with the injector lines and stuff. If all that stuff's run in and it's back there, we're not going to be able to get this map sensor to get the patch loom in. So that's a bit of a stalemate for now until that arrives. So hopefully by the time that arrives tomorrow, I've got all my sublooms finished. We can whack that in. Injectors, coils, sublooms, rails, fuel lines, the other breather. Yeehaw. It's not too bad in here. It's pretty warm, to be honest. That's when you know it's cold, when the engine room feels warm. But 32 hours, 96%, so probably like another 2 hours to go, but I'm not waiting around. It's too cold and too late. I'm gonna go home, have something to eat, go to sleep, and try and get this thing knocked over tomorrow. So anyway, as I'm pretty sure I have said before already, given how long this is to print, obviously, and the car's literally going on Friday, there's no time for another print, there's no time for a revision, so get here in the morning, we can test fit this. In either case, whether it's right or it's wrong, dash goes back together, car starts going back together either way, and it is what it is, so that's that. Anywho, we've got a bit of a plan for tomorrow. Fingers crossed we will be at the point where we're hitting the key. I really hope we are. It has been a freaking huge mammoth job to get us to this point. To hear it run tomorrow would be really nice. It'd be a really nice day. But anyway, you'll have to tune into the next episode if you want to see that. So, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching as always. Peace out. See you, boy.